When discussing the military strength of Nazi Germany during the Second World War, people often recall the sweeping armored thrusts, the rapid advances of mechanized formations, or the tightly coordinated operations between tanks and aircraft. Yet behind every large-scale maneuver, the backbone of the German war machine remained the infantrymen, those who held the lines, secured the towns, crossed the fields, and endured the harshest realities of the battlefield. In their hands, 5 weapons came to define not only how they fought, but also how the German military understood modern warfare. These weapons, the Karabiner 98K rifle, the MG34 and MG42 machine guns, the MP40 submachine gun, the Sturmgewehr 44, and the Luger P08 alongside the Walther P38 pistols. Each carried a unique story of development, deployment, and legacy. Together, they form a complete picture of the German infantry's combat capabilities across 6 years of war. The Karabiner 98K, often known simply as the K98, was developed and produced by Mauser, beginning in 1935. It was a shortened and refined version of the Gewehr 98 used in the First World War. Its development stemmed from a shifting philosophy of infantry tactics. Mobility had become essential, and soldiers needed a rifle that was shorter, lighter, and more practical for fast-moving formations. Despite being rooted in early 20th century design principles, the K98 reflected continued advancements in durability, precision, and mass production techniques. The rifle was issued widely. Virtually every German infantryman, from new recruits to experienced soldiers on the Eastern Front, carried a K98. It fired the powerful 7.9 to 257 mm Mauser cartridge and had an effective range of about 500 meters with iron sights, extending to around 800 meters for sniper variants equipped with optical sights. A trained soldier could fire roughly 12 to 15 rounds per minute. Over 14 million rifles were produced from 1935 to 1945, making it the most widely issued German infantry weapon of the war. The K98's strengths lay in its ruggedness and reliability. Whether in freezing temperatures, mud, or heavy rain, it continued functioning with minimal maintenance. Soldiers frequently remarked on its dependability. One corporal of the 6th Infantry Division, writing from the Smolensk region in 1941, noted, "We trusted the K98 because it never surprised us. In the cold, in the dust, after long marches, it remained steady. That familiarity gave us confidence when everything else felt uncertain." Its main drawback, however, was its slower rate of fire compared to semi-automatic rifles, such as the American M1 Garand. Even so, in the open terrain and long engagement distances common on the Eastern Front, the K98 remained highly effective. Variants included sniper conversions with ZF-39 optics and several experimental models. Today, while no longer a military service rifle, the K98 still appears in civilian shooting clubs and private collections due to its durability and historical importance. If the K98 formed the foundation of the German infantry, the MG34 and MG42 machine guns represented the core of its firepower philosophy. The MG34 was developed by Rheinmetall and entered service in 1934. Its purpose was straightforward but ambitious. Create a machine gun capable of serving in multiple roles: light support weapon for infantry squads, medium machine gun on tripods, and even coaxial or hull-mounted armament on tanks. This made the MG34 the world's first true general-purpose machine gun, or GPMG, a concept that would influence countless designs in the decades that followed. It fired the same 7.92 57mm Mauser cartridge as the K98, delivering between 800 and 900 rounds per minute. When mounted on a tripod, its effective range extended to about 200 meters. From 1936 to 1942, more than 350,000 MG34s were produced. They were issued to machine gun teams within infantry squads and were standard in all mechanized units. Soldiers appreciated its precision and smooth operation, but its sophisticated machining made it sensitive to sand and dust, a limitation that became apparent during the North African campaign. One non-commissioned officer who served during the 1940 campaign in France wrote, "The MG34 performed beautifully, but it demanded attention. We always kept cleaning cloths with us, just in case dust found its way inside." These challenges led to the development of the MG42, produced by Grossfuss beginning in 1942. Designed for easier and faster manufacturing through stamped steel components, the MG42 significantly reduced production time and cost while improving battlefield performance. It fired the same ammunition, but at a dramatically higher rate, between 200 and 1,500 rounds per minute, making it one of the fastest firing machine guns ever fielded. From 1942 to 1945, over 400,000 MG42s were produced. A lieutenant who fought in Normandy in 1944 recalled, "When we heard the MG42 behind us, it meant everything was ready. Its response was immediate, and it stayed dependable even when the situation became challenging." The MG42's primary drawback was its high ammunition consumption, though experienced crews managed this effectively. Its design proved so successful that its descendant, the MG3, remains in service with several militaries today. For close quarters fighting and mechanized troops, the MP40 submachine gun became a defining weapon. Developed by Heinrich Vollmer, based on the earlier MP38 design, the MP40 entered full production under Irma in 1940. Its development arose from the need for a compact, easy-to-use firearm suitable for armored crews, squad leaders, reconnaissance units, and others operating in confined or rapidly changing environments. The MP40 fired 9.619 mm parabellum ammunition at approximately 500 to 550 rounds per minute, with an effective range of 100 to 150 meters. More than 1 million MP40s were manufactured between 1940 and 1945. Although often portrayed in popular media as the standard weapon of the German infantry, the MP40 was actually issued selectively. Largely based on tactical role rather than rank, soldiers valued its lightweight, controllability, and simple operating mechanism. One sergeant from a mechanized unit campaigning in Poland in 1939 wrote, "The MP40 feels adaptable and steady. In tight spaces or when moving quickly, it gives us the flexibility we need." However, the weapon's magazine was prone to deformation if mishandled, and its short range limited its usefulness outside urban or close terrain combat. Despite these limitations, the MP40 remains one of the most iconic firearms of the Second World War. Its variants included small refinements to materials and manufacturing processes. Today, it exists mainly in museums, private collections, and historical training contexts. As German infantry tactics evolved, so too did the need for a weapon capable of bridging the gap between bolt-action rifles and submachine guns. This need gave birth to the Sturmgewehr 44, or STG-44, the world's first true assault rifle. Developed by C.G. Hanel from 1942 under the direction of engineer Hugo Schmeisser, the STG-44 addressed a battlefield reality. Most infantry engagements occurred at distances shorter than those for which traditional rifles were optimized. The Germans required a weapon with moderate recoil, good mid-range accuracy, and the ability to fire in both semi-automatic and fully automatic modes. The STG-44 used a newly developed intermediate cartridge, the 7.92 bank 33mm Kurz, which allowed for controllable automatic fire without sacrificing too much ballistic performance. It had an effective range of approximately 300 meters and a firing rate of around 550 rounds per minute. Between 1943 and 1945, roughly 425,000 STG-44s were produced. Units deployed on the Eastern Front received them first, where high-intensity engagements and rapid shifts in combat situations made the weapon especially valuable. A soldier from the 19th Infantry Division described his experience. "When we were issued the STG-44, we recognized immediately that things had changed. It allowed us to respond more quickly and adapt to encounters that happened in fast, unpredictable ways." Despite its late introduction, and the logistical challenges of maintaining it at the front, the Sturmgewehr represented a turning point in infantry weapon design. Its influence is seen most clearly in the development of the AK-47 and many later assault rifles. Though largely retired from modern service, small numbers still surface in isolated regions. Completing the infantry's arsenal were the pistols Luger P08 and Walther P38, both standard sidearms, but serving in different eras of German military development. The Luger P08, first produced by Deutsche Waffen- und Munitionsfabriken, DWM, in the early 1900s, was known for its distinctive toggle lock mechanism and precise machining. It fired the 90-mm parabellum cartridge and had an effective range of about 50 meters. From 1939 to 1942, around 800,000 Lugers were produced or reissued to German forces. However, because its construction required extensive machining, the weapon proved expensive and time-consuming to manufacture on a large scale. To address this, Walther introduced the P38 in 1938, later produced also by Mauser and Spreewerk. The P38 used a simpler and more economical locking system while maintaining high reliability under field conditions. More than 1.2 million P38s were produced during the war. These pistols were commonly issued to officers, non-commissioned officers, armored crews, signal personnel, and other roles where compact personal defense weapons were needed. One officer serving in Italy in 1943 wrote, "The P38 lacks the mechanical elegance of the Luger, but in difficult conditions it is the one I trust. It asks less of me, and in return, it delivers what I need." Variants of both pistols existed, mostly involving changes in materials or production techniques. The P38 continued to see service in some countries for decades after the war. Together, these weapons revealed the evolution of German infantry doctrine. The traditional K98 embodied the earlier era of long-range marksmanship. The MG34 and MG42 represented the shift toward concentrated firepower and flexible support roles. The MP40 showed the growing importance of mobility and close-quarters adaptability. The STG-44 paved the way for a new category of weapons, the assault rifle that would define infantry tactics for the rest of the century. And the Luger P08 and Walther P38 reflected both the heritage and the practical needs of officers and specialists within the German military structure. Historians examining the Second World War often look beyond the sweeping offensives and major battles to understand how individual soldiers experienced the war, how they fought, adapted, and relied on their equipment. These weapons accompanied them through forests, across open plains, into ruined cities, and across the unforgiving landscapes of multiple fronts. Each carried not only a technical story, but also a human one, shaped by the demands of a rapidly changing conflict. Through their development and use, we gain insight into both the technological and tactical evolution of modern warfare.